亦都夠時間開會啦。
It's time to get started, members. Since the last meeting, we have received 2 information papers which are set out in the agenda. For the next meeting scheduled for the 18th of January 2013, there are 2 proposed items from the administration. First, in relation to the 2013 policy address, there will be a briefing on transport-related policies. And secondly, the certificate of particulars of motor vehicle. The issue is about protecting or enhancing the protection of privacy for registered owners. Members, do you wish to propose any other items for the next meeting? You may wish to refer to the list of outstanding items for discussion. Last time we discussed the fare adjustment mechanism for the MTR. And the administration team was here to listen to views from the public. And they said they will come back in January or February. So what do you think, members? If we want to discuss this in the next meeting, we'll have to ask the administration if it's ready. Mr. Tang Ka-biu, I agree that we should, as soon as possible, ask the administration to report on the progress of the fare adjustment of MTR. Because in mid-March, there will be statistics published. So if nothing is done before that, the original fare adjustment mechanism would just be applied. We've asked the Secretariat to do some research. Our research colleagues are doing this. It would be best if we can have the research report ready for members' information when we discuss the item. So let's put this in first. And then I would talk to the administration and our research library division to see if they are ready. We would proceed if they are ready, and if not, then I'll try to find out when they will be ready. And we'll certainly like to have an early discussion. Deputy Chairman, well, I have to say that I agree. In the previous meeting, I have strong views about the fare adjustment mechanism, and I hope that we can have an early discussion in January. You talk about the 2 information papers issued since last meeting. There's one from bus operators or coach operators concerning parking spaces for coaches. I would like to have a discussion on parking spaces for coaches next time. Just give a copy to the administration, a copy of the written submission, the information paper. And then we can ask the Transport Department to provide information on parking spaces in various districts. We know there is insufficient supply, and many coaches have to park by the road at night. So it's best if sufficient parking spaces can be provided. So we'd send the administration a copy of that submission. And then I can try to sort this out with the clerk so that we may have an early discussion next time. Please give us the information and then we'll take a look at it. I sent a letter to you, Chairman, yesterday. There's a taxi union raising their concern about the two recent fatalities involving taxi drivers in a car accident. They are concerned about the structural safety of taxi because since the introduction of the LPG taxis, we haven't seen any major improvement over the past 12 years. Yes, the submission, the letter you sent has been copied to members. So would have 2 of 3 items for the next meeting. So that's decided. Next item, application for toll increase by the Taxcon Tunnel Company Limited. First of all, I would like to welcome Mr. Yao from Transport and Housing Bureau. We have Mr. Chen Qigeng, Patrick Chen, Deputy Secretary, and also a number of representatives from Taxcon Tunnel, Ms. Donna Ye, Mr. Rowena Lee, and Mr. Wang Jigin. So over to you, Mr. Yao, for an introduction. Well, to save time, maybe I can directly ask the Taxcon Tunnel Company representative to give a PowerPoint presentation, and then the members can raise questions. Who would give the presentation? Mr. Wang. Thank you. Chairman, members, good morning. We are grateful that the panel on transport has given us this opportunity regarding the application for toll increase by Taxcon Tunnel Company Limited. We have a few points to cover today. First, justification for toll increase. The Taxcon Tunnel Company Limited was given a BOT franchise in 1988. Now more than 24 years has passed, and there's still not more than 5 years to go. The company has invested more than $2 billion on this through hard work and a lot of initiative. We started to make a profit in 07-08, and up to 2011 we have an accumulated profit of $600 million. That's much worse than the estimated $4 billion in the original projection. According to the Taxcon Tunnel Ordinance, the tunnel company can, through the collection of tolls, get a reasonable but not excessive return. The internal rate of return as it stands is 6.61. Is much lower than the projected 13.2, and that is to say the rate of return is just half the projected figure. Let me point out that a reasonable return was the factor that attracted investors in investing in infrastructural projects. Let's look at why the revenue has fallen behind expectations. Why is it that the revenue has not been satisfactory? Please look at this chart. The estimated traffic flow is the black line, and the red line show you the actual traffic. The difference can be attributed to factors which could not have been foreseen at the time of tendering. For example, Lion Rock's tunnel has had its toll unchanged for more than 10 years, and that is since 1999. And thus the gap between the two sets of tolls are getting bigger and bigger. Let me now turn to measures to improve our finances. We have been trying to open up new sources of revenue while cutting expenditure. Apart from applying for toll increase, the company has also offered different concessions in an attempt the increased toll traffic, but they are not very satisfactory in terms of performance. You can see other revenue only accounts for 5% of the total revenue. So even if we can increase the non-toll related revenue, it's not going to help the bigger picture very extensively. In the past 10 odd years, we have been doing our best to enhance efficiency and to achieve savings. We have done a good job in this regard. The operating expenditure has been improved all the time. Although this is a tunnel, compared with other toll companies, we have been doing an equally, if not a better job, equally good or if not better job in saving on expenditure. This is a new toll table. In proposing this, we have taken into account carefully the accumulative inflation and also people's affordability. In the proposed or revised proposals, we have brought down the rates of increase appropriately. Instead of increasing the tolls by $3, it's just $2 except motorcycles. For motorcycle, it's just $1. And after the adjustment, we are still the cheapest in terms of tolls among the privately operated tunnels. This application, if approved, will have only a minimum impact on traffic or toll usage. According to a survey conducted in October, through the collective efforts of our employees, 90% of our clients are happy with our service. In the coming 6 years, we are going to invest another $40 million to improve the facilities and our services, including fire facilities, maintenance of the tunnel walls, and also upgrade or replace our rescued vehicles. We are committed to the provision of better and better service to our clients. That's all for my presentation. Thank you. Thank you. Anything from the Undersecretary? Chairman, we received this application from the toll company in March. Afterwards, we asked the toll company to take another look at the necessity of the toll increase and whether the rates of increase should be as proposed, and also the implications for other modes of transport. After the discussion, the toll company adjusted its proposed rates of toll increase. And now we're here to listen to members of this panel. At the same time, we're going to consult the TAC. After that, we'll submit our proposals to the CE in Council for the final decision. What is the implementation date? Well, in accordance with the applicant, they would like to give effect to the new tolls in mid-May next year.
Yeah.
5 members, Chair Hakan, Wong Kok Heng, Deng Ka-biu, Lee Chak-yen, are waiting to ask questions. Goh Pui-fan, Chen Men-pun, 4 minutes each. Chair Hakan. Thank you, Chairman. TCT's toll increase proposal is not acceptable because it's going to intensify inflation affecting everyone in Hong Kong and also drivers. The TCT has turned a loss into profit. The profit level has increased from 18 million to 180 million, and now they have 5 years left on their franchise. Are you going to increase the toll every year? Do you want to maximize your profit every year? Second question for the administration. Will the government be the gatekeeper and vote down this toll increase application? TCT, Mr. Wong? Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, members. in this toll increase application, we have seriously considered the public's affordability. The level of increase has come down from $3 to $2 at about 11.1%, which is comparable to the previous exercise, which was submitted in December 2010, and the inflation figures between then and July 2013, or the 1st of July. Thank you. So we have already considered inflation factors. But right now, the government does not have a set position on this toll increase. We are going to, in this period, consult the transport panel, the TAC, and then we are going to submit our views to CE in Council. We understand that the TCT's toll increase is based on a legal framework. If CE in Council and the TCT can reach an agreement, it can be implemented. Otherwise, either party may resort to arbitration. And the main consideration for arbitration would be the profit enjoyed by the tunnel company, whether it is reasonable but not excessive. That is one major criteria for arbitration. Chairman, I have another question. TCT is saying that there is inflation and they want to offset inflation, and therefore they propose an increase of 11%. But it is unacceptable when the inflation is already so high. So can the tunnel company tell us, other than increasing the toll by $1 to $2, do you have any other measures to create more revenue? Every day we drive through the tunnel and we see many billboards outside the tunnel. Can you think of other ways to create new revenue? Mr. Wong? Just now in our presentation, we already mentioned that the non-toll revenue takes up about 5% of total revenue. In the past year or so, advertisement revenue has increased, but it's still around 5% of total revenue. We mainly operate a tunnel. We cannot do other business. So we have already tried our best to create more revenue. In the future, we would like to sell as many advertisement vacancies like other tunnels. But compared to other major tunnels, our advertisement income is still on the lower side. Mr. Wang Kwok-heng. Chairman, from the paper, I can see that TCTC is proposing a $2 increase. It doesn't sound like much, but is that true? It is not. As you have said, it is 11.1%. That is the average increase. It is a few times higher than inflation rate. I believe this is not acceptable. I think the government needs to be the gatekeeper. If the government agrees to 11.1% increase, there will be other public utilities following this trend. There will be a chain effect increasing the burden to the public. That is the first point. Secondly, in the past decade or so, TCTC enjoyed increasing annual profit. It's turned a loss into a profit already. So I don't think TCTC can justify this application by saying that only about 5 years are left with the franchise and they want to maximize their profit. If they really can substantiate the application in that way, you can increase the toll level by $3, $4, or even $5. We cannot accept such logic. If TCTC increases the toll by such a huge margin, I cannot accept it. So I suggest that the TCTC can consider increasing the toll by only $1. If you look at the percentage, it's still higher than inflation rate. So perhaps the tunnel company can respond to this. And I also want to hear from the administration. You must be the gatekeeper. You cannot allow TCTC to increase the toll by a margin larger than the inflation rate. Mr. Wong? Thank you, Chairman and members. Thank you for the reminder. I would like to point out that we are talking about cumulated inflation for 2.5 years as the basis of our consideration. According to our figures, the increase of toll is 11.1%. We have considered the inflation rate of 11.3% during the same period, so it is more or less comparable. A 30-year long-term infrastructural investment is reasonable return. Well, I can give you this analogy. As an employee, we all want to enjoy a raise. So reasonable return is very reasonable. We've been running this company for more than a decade. And in 07-08, we finally turned the loss into a profit. We understand we have social responsibility. This level of increase is not going to jack up our profit to 4 billion. As expected, we have considered affordability, accumulated inflation rate, beginning from December 2010 until 1st of July 2013. We have considered the accumulated inflation. Thank you. Thank you. Mr. Wong asked the government to be the gatekeeper. I agree. We will do our best to be the gatekeeper. He also raised 2 other points. Allow me to clarify some facts. First, about inflation rate. Mr. Wong from TCTC has already explained that. I won't repeat it. Secondly, is it going to attract other operators to increase their fares and toll? Actually, the CPI, when we consider the toll level, it only takes up a small portion of the index. We're talking about only 1.58% of the index. If we just consider the proposal submitted by the TCTC and how that relates to inflation, we can say it's quite small. Mr. Lee Chek-yen, well, we cannot really rely on you to be the gatekeeper. It's only 1.58%. Don't you realize that drops of water will create a river? Everything will become chain effect. When TCTC increases its toll, all the operators of public transportation will have to transfer the burden to the end users. Sounds like you are very supportive of such toll increase. How can we trust you? The guiding principle is that the return should be reasonable but not excessive. I wonder what the reasonable level is in your mind. Think about minimum wage. You think $2 is reasonable. For 2 years, the increase of 7% is reasonable according to you. And now they're applying for 11.1% increase, and you call that reasonable. Why don't you increase minimum wage? But of course, I know you're not responsible for this. I just wonder what is reasonable in your mind. TCTC, I wonder if you have the profit figures for 2011 to 12, but for 2010 to 2011, you have made a profit of 189 million. Without the toll increase, the profit, or with the toll increase, it will be 6.76% IRR. Without the increase, 6.61% IRR. That's not so bad. If you compare the 2 figures, they're not that different. if you consider the overall environment for enterprises, 6.61 is already very good. So what about 2011 to 12? What is your IRR and profit level? And what is reasonable in the mind of the administration? Mr. Wong. Thank you, Chairman and members. For 2011-12, auditing report is not yet ready, but the figures are roughly the same, close to 200 million. I also want to add that beginning from 0708, the TCTC started enjoying a profit. We started the franchise in 1988, and we are presented this figure of 600 million. If we assume that every year from now on there will be 200 million profit, it's still not as high as a twofold return, and it is not worth the while. As an operator, we have seriously considered how it may affect people's livelihood. The increase is only 11.1%. We have already considered the accumulated inflation rate. Thank you. Mr. Yao? Well, Mr. Lee, we have all along been the gatekeeper. For example, when Eastern Tunnel applied for toll increase, we objected to their application, showing that the government has done a very good job as the gatekeeper. To respond to Mr. Lee's question, what is reasonable? If you look at the relevant ordinance, there is no rigid indicator as to what is reasonable. But in the past, when we handled the toll increase application from Eastern Tunnel, we have resorted to arbitration. And the arbitrator pointed out that between 15 and 17 would be reasonable but not excessive return. Every time, the case will be different, the conditions are different, so we cannot apply the same rates or standards to all other cases or for other tunnel operators. But I believe that the government will make reference to the arbitrator's suggestion. So you can see the government is being the gatekeeper. You can see our track record. We're going to do it. Thank you very much. Well, I'm very worried. Between 15 and 17, that's very high. The time is up. Mr. Poon Siu Ping. Well, we can see that the toll increase proposal is outrageous. Originally, they wanted to have more than 20% increase and now 11%. I have read your annual report. Your operating expenses has been declining by 1 million odd. The profit level, to be more serious, there is room for a decrease instead. I think the TCTC should consider decreasing the toll to attract more traffic instead of proposing a toll increase affecting the public. So I have a question for the administration. According to the paper, if you increase the toll, 500 to 600 vehicles will go to Lion Rock Tunnel instead. How did you come to this conclusion? Have you asked all the drivers which tunnel they will take if there is an increase?
And what measures will the administration take to ensure the normal operation of the Lion Rock Tunnel? Because after the toll increase, the other tunnel may suffer from serious congestion. So what concrete measures will the administration do, or what assessment would it do? Undersecretary? Yes. The question is whether the Lion Rock Tunnel would have its tunnel traffic increase after the toll increase. Well, the tunnel company has made its own assessment. It's estimated that some 500 vehicles would use the Lion Rock Tunnel after the toll increase instead, and some would also use Tai Po Road instead, and Route 3 instead of, Route 8. The impact on the Lion Rock Tunnel, according to our estimation, would not be great. If we look at the last toll increase, in the short term there was some increase to the traffic of Lion Rock Tunnel, but because diversion effect of Route 8, the impact was not as great as previously, and the impact was for the short term. So Lion Rock Tunnel that did not suffer from severe congestion last time. Mr. Wong, first of all, I'd like to thank members for their constructive suggestions, which we are always prepared to take on board. Let me say something about the toll adjustment. The tunnel serves 2 points on both sides of the pothole, and then we have to assess the demand. If we reduce our tolls, then we have to decide, if that can be done at all, we have to look at the rate of decrease. It's difficult to come up with the suitable rate of decrease if we were to do it. And even if we have a big reduction, we might not be able to attract users who are using other routes at the present moment. According to the Undersecretary, the impact on the Lion Rock Tunnel will not be serious. But what if it turns out to be serious? Who will bear the responsibility? Yes, that you provide point-to-point tunnel service. If the increase is substantial, then I, as a driver, might consider using another route. That's a fact. If TCTC tolls continue to increase, the gap will continue to grow. Some drivers would certainly consider using the Lion Rock Tunnel more often. So the administration must consider how to manage the diversion. And the congestion may be a problem, and the time when congestion starts to get worse may become earlier. According to TCTC representative, I think he's self-contradictory. He said the Lion Rock Tunnel tolls have not been increased for years, and some drivers are now attracted to the Lion Rock Tunnel, and therefore their traffic has not been as good as they would like. So you are saying that a lower toll would attract more users, but now you want to increase your tolls. Well, you are just trying to victimize your captive users because they have to use your tunnel to access the Eastern Harbour Crossing and then Hong Kong Island. You want to get the maximum profit since the franchise has only a few years more to go. For 9 years, your profits fell below the expected rate, and now for 12 years you have been earning a profit. Well, you invested $2 billion and you expect a return of $4 billion. Well, I think the original projection was somewhat out of tune with reality. You want to get a total revenue of $6 billion over the franchise period. That's, to me, problematic. Would the Undersecretary agree with me? The same has happened to other tunnels. Route 3 tunnel, Western Harbour Crossing, and the like are all saying that they are not getting a big enough rate of return. So has something gone wrong with the projections? And as for the TCTC, are you saying that after the franchise period, you're not going to operate the tunnel anymore? That's why you want to get the maximum profit while you can. And what would happen after the franchise agreement has expired, will the government be operating the tunnel instead? Undersecretary, let me take the questions. Concerning the projections or estimation, the TCTC has explained why the traffic fell below expectation. One of the important factors would be the relocation of the airport. When the tunnel was built, it was in the 80s, and the airport moved to Chalapkor in 1998. So at that time, the expectation was that the airport would be there to generate traffic. So it was not expected at the time that the airport would be relocated. And in the 90s, the government decided to build a new airport. And so that brought about changes. And you can see in East Kowloon, after the relocation of the airport, because of different planning issues, the plans turned out to be quite different from the original projection. So it was not that we failed to take into account certain factors, but just those factors were not there at that time. At that time, but the inflation rate and the interest rate were much higher than what they are now. So we cannot compare the projections then with what we would be doing now. The second question is about what would happen after the franchise expires. This is a BOT arrangement. After the franchise is over, the government will be owning the tunnel. Mr. Tan Ka-pil, well, it seems a small matter to have the tolls increasing by $1 or $2, but the rate of increase is a double-digit increase. And in a moment, we are going to discuss the 8.5% increase of bus companies. With the toll going up, the bus company would very quickly come back to ask for a bigger fare increase. So on the face of it, you're earning a higher profit than KMB, and still you want to have a toll increase. It's just like trying to quench your thirst by drinking poison. So you're not getting a sufficiently good profit because of low tunnel traffic, but with higher tolls, you're going to drive the tunnel traffic even lower. There's a cumulative 4 billion expected, but it's just 2 billion as it turns out. Are you trying to play a catch-up to get the maximum permissible return within the remaining years, so that you can achieve the objective of getting a profit of 4 billion over the entire franchise period? And also for the Transport Department, can you provide some form of subsidy in terms of the franchise fee? So that it can offset the proposed toll increase? Mr. Wong, let me state again the justification. This is an investment for a French infrastructural project for 30 years. A reasonable return should be duly considered. We invested $2 billion. In 2007, 2008, we started to make a profit. In 2011 or 2010, 2011, we have generated a cumulative profit of 600 million. We're not just trying to catch up and earn the expected 4 billion this time. As I've said, we have taken into account people's affordability and the cumulative inflation. The 11.1% proposed increase is based on inflation, which is an important factor. Undersecretary. Chairman, in response to Mr. Tang's questions as regards whether we can provide some subsidy to road users or drivers through the franchise fee, we have to consider two issues. First of all, is there a necessity to help these drivers? And also, is there any alternative for these drivers when we consider whether a subsidy? Because the franchise revenue goes to the treasury, it's the taxpayers' money, our money. Can the Undersecretary tell us how much has been collected through the franchise fee over the years? There will be high social costs to pay if people turn to Lion Rock Tunnel instead. Any figures? We'll have to try to find out if there are such records. I will supplement my response in writing. Ms. Elizabeth Kwok. Well, this increase is 11.1%, which is higher than inflation, is in my view unacceptable. The Undersecretary asked if there are alternatives. Yes, there are a few tunnels leading to the urban area, but that's not a real choice. If you go to the Cross Harbour Tunnel, you go via Lion Rock Tunnel. Congestion is so serious in the morning, you dare not try it. And if you want to go via the Eastern Harbour Crossing, you have to use the TCTC. And Western Harbour Crossing tolls are so high. So there's no real choice. We rely on the government acting as the goalkeeper. You should do a good job so that our burdens will not go up even further. As for TCTC, have you assessed the impact on other roads and tunnels during peak hours? Would there be a domino effect on other fees and charges? Sha Tin District Council has been raising this point that one of the reasons of traffic jam is that many people refrain from using auto toll because it's a monopoly. It charges a high fee. They rather queue up to pay the toll. So people have been asking for other alternatives, and you have been saying that we are going to pilot or use other measures on a pilot basis. Have you got other measures so as to improve tunnel traffic? Mr. Wong? Well, the member raised the issue of auto toll uses. Well, at present, this is an alternative to manual collection of tolls. It accounts for half of the total. For other matters, as suggested, they fall outside our authority to decide. Undersecretary, Ms. Kwok, well, as I think I have explained previously, perhaps I can do it again. Please be brief. TCTC's estimation that after the toll increase, some 500 vehicles would be diverted to the Lion Rock Tunnel.
And 100 will take Tai Po Highway and Changsha Wan to Sha Tin Route 8 instead. So with this increase in the traffic flow, our road network can support such increase. If we refer to December 2010 increase within 1 to 2 months, Lion Rock Tunnel saw some increase in traffic flow, but very quickly it returned to the normal level because there is this diversion effect caused by other routes. Compared to before Route 8 was commissioned, the flow of traffic was actually lower. So our road network can accommodate the increase after the toll adjustment. The government will definitely be a good gatekeeper. What about using other measures or systems. Well, we have some e-payment at different tunnels. We are also looking into different e-options for different tunnel companies for them to install. Well, the auto pass charges 100 million a year. Your time is up, Kokake. TCTC's toll increase shows that they are very greedy. Their current return is already very high, 6.7%. Most people in Hong Kong, our deposit in banks is only 0.525% per year. You have earned 180 million already. You think that is not enough. You think that you should make 4 billion. Then of course 600 odd million is not enough. But let's not forget, in your expenses, operating costs, EBITDA have all been incorporated. So the original 200 million, that is already in excess, and you are still waiting to collect more money. This is a kind of monopoly. Many people who live in Sha Tin and to the east of Sha Tin, if they want to go to Kowloon East, they have no other choices. And you are using this point. You know that with the toll increase, people will still have to choose you anyway. We know this ripple effect. All the minibuses and buses will follow suit. They will say, TCTC increase the toll. We want to increase the fare level as well. We are most disappointed by the government. Mr. Yao's response is outrageous. He said 11% increase, and you said that is correct. If we rely on you to be the gatekeeper, we will be in a dire situation. You talk about BOT, but we should turn it into BOR. Build, operate, and rip people off. Every time the tunnel company will ask for huge increases. So according to Mr. Yao, people in Sha Tin and to the east of Sha Tin, they will be in a lot of trouble. Perhaps they will come back again next year to ask for another toll increase. This is outrageous. Of course, the TCTC wants to increase it by 100% if they can. So I want to ask Mr. Yao, is there an agreement between the government and the TCTC to ensure that they can make as much profit as possible? So how do you know that you are being accountable to the public? Our wage increase is so limited. People have to take the bus every day, and the minimum wage, the increase is only $2. Well, I do not say that the current increase is reasonable because it's comparable with the inflation rate. I just pointed out a fact. How do we look at inflation rate and the relevant duration? That would be between the last application and the current application. The factual inflation rate. Perhaps you can talk about what the government has done. That was the first point. Secondly, the government will be the gatekeeper, according to our Eastern Tunnel experience, because Eastern Tunnel is also under a similar BOR. So we are always very prudent in examining all the figures. But in the law, there is no objective standard on what is reasonable but not excessive. So according to the Eastern Tunnel's experience, which went through arbitration, we looked at how the arbitrator considered the case. Assuming there is no increase of toll, according to their legal right, the TCTC can resort to arbitration, and what criteria will be used by the arbitrator, we have to think about that as well. Otherwise, the ETH wanted more for the toll increase, and different factors have been considered. If we casually deal with this current case, it may not be fair to all the users. So when we consider this current application, we will combine all the relevant factors to decide what is reasonable but not excessive. Mr. Yu Chiming? Thank you, Chairman. TCTC is applying for toll increase, and other members have a lot to say. No one wants to hear about toll increase. I used to deal with many toll increase applications, so I want to offer my comments. IRR is only 6.67%. With a franchise of 30 years, it is not high. It will be very difficult to find other people to operate BOT projects unless there is guaranteed return. That is not likely to happen. According to my experience, the government is very strict in handling such applications. They do not casually allow toll increases. When the franchise was granted, the expected return was between 15 to 17%, but the inflation rate has gone up, and today the interest rate has come down. If you look at EHT, it's only 6.76%. As a commercial operator, it is a 30-year investment. This return level is not attractive. If the government runs other infrastructural projects in the future, you'll have to find money from your own pocket. As Mr. Yao has pointed out, at the end, the TCTC has the right to seek arbitration. According to experience, we will not consider political factors. We will simply look at the rate of return, whether it is reasonable. We have also mentioned advertisement revenue. Can we increase that? Perhaps the tunnel companies should try harder. I think we all need to be very careful in considering this. Some have pointed out that the level of increase is higher than inflation rate, but these companies do not ask for toll increases every single year. So you have to look at the level from the previous application. That is more fair. Any response from the administration? Nothing to add. Final member, Mr. Wang Kuo-hong. Chairman, this is quite simple. Under the British Hong Kong government, they did not want to pay for the project back in the 70s and 80s. They did not know if they would stay to rule Hong Kong, so this is a historical issue. First of all, the council is not talking about whether we need to do these things in the future. Should we just ask commercial operators to operate and then hand the facility back to the government? Probably not. Secondly, the disparity is $3.42 billion. So they can sue the government if you don't allow them the increase now. We can go to arbitration every single time. That's the best option. Why? Because there is a third party, and the whole society have to consider this. The pro-government camp, well, you have to realize that it's difficult to run a business today, and many people have killed themselves because they lost the money in investment. The operator is now saying that the level of profit is not even close to the expected level, and therefore toll increase is justified. I think we should seek arbitration. If we do not seek arbitration today, they will sue the government because the disparity is 33.442 billion. They may even say in the future it will become 5 billion. You should not ask the consumer to pay. We should not pay for the government's mistakes. We should sue the British Hong Kong government. We should drag them back. Chris Patten should come back. I don't know where we are now. Is it the government's mistake? If it is, the government should make the compensation. Why should I pay? You have so much money. Let's punish them. They will stop operating these BTO or BOT projects. I don't know what this council is talking about. Why should the consumers pay? Secondly, the LSE has all along supported repurchase. If you're having such a hard time operating it, don't do it. You are making a profit, but the government refuses to purchase it back. And when Shi Kin purchased 2 tunnels, as for Western Tunnel, you're saying, oh, no one is using it, let's increase the toll. And Eastern Tunnel, too many people using it, let's increase the toll. So it is naturally a kind of monopoly. It is not reasonable, not feasible to run them by relying on standard commercial principles. You are digging a ditch so that wealthy people can make even more money by sucking the blood out of normal people. People don't have expectation of this council. Okay, are you done? I just want to speak on behalf of the people. Alright, we are going to end the discussion on this item. Let's hope that TCTC and the government chairman, I have raised my hand all along. We have other 2 items. I raised my hand very early on. No. You can ask the clerk. When you asked the first time any questions, I raised my hand. Okay, I will allow your question. Because we have to talk about KMB later on, and everyone is very concerned. Okay? We have already talked about most issues. Let's not duplicate anything.
Mr. Wu Chi-wei, I want to ask for some information. According to TCTC, they have taken into account the cumulative inflation. But over these couple of years, the inflation rate is not higher than 11.1%. So how can you say that? And having done so much, you are trying to increase your internal rate of return to the 6.7% to TCTC. You have been making a profit so many years. Even without the total increase, the IRR is already 6.61%. Are you just trying to maximize your profits so that you really have to apply for a total increase? Mr. Wong. Well, one of the factors we consider is the reasonable and not excessive profit. We have made reference to the cumulative inflation as one of the factors. Please understand that we have proposed a very reasonable rate of increase. 11.1% is based on actual figures. Thank you. If we look at the inflation rate in the past couple of years, it's not going to be higher than 8%. So how can they say that they are basing this on actual inflation? Well, they have taken into account 2.5 years. We can provide the figures in writing. Mr. Gary Fan, 2 questions. One question for Mr. Wong. In the second slide, you said the expected IRR is 13.2%, so it's $4 billion, and now you have 600 million. You have shortfall of 3.4 billion. That is because you want to suggest that the proposed increase is not unreasonable. It's very reasonable. According to Ms. Annette Lee, the Deputy Secretary who gave an answer to this council in 2008, the proposal for your franchise referred to 13.02% as your IRR. The government said very clearly that it was used to determine the initial tolls. There was no undertaking on future toll increases, and there's no agreement on a guarantee return. So how can you justify your toll increase based on this expected IRR? You earned $150 million, $170, and last year $190 million. Still, you want to increase your toll by 11%. Of course, I cannot agree to that. So I would like to get a response from you. And secondly, a question for the Undersecretary: why is it that members are not are worried that you're not going to do a good job in acting as the gatekeeper? You said the toll increase will only be accounting for 1 or 2% of the CPI. So it's you implied that it's not going to be a big impact. If you want to be the gatekeeper, you would take into account certain factors. So what are your actual consideration of different factors? Will the administration consider extending the franchise period or buy back the tunnel to lower the toll increase? We proposed this in the last term of LegCo. There's still 5 more years to go. Are you going to think about this or consult people over this? Mr. Wong, and let me first say this. 13.02% as our return rate is in the law, is in the ordinance. This time, we propose the toll increase based on the cumulative inflation. We started to operate in 1988. We were commissioned in 1991. And then we started to make a profit for the first time in 2007. Before that, there were years where we sustained losses. The total profit, cumulative profit, up to 2011 was $600 million. So a simple calculation will tell you how good the investment return has been. As for other years, we don't have any plan. But this time round, we want to propose something reasonable. We hope this council and the public would understand and support the application. Thank you. Undersecretary. Thank you, Mr. Fan, for your question. As I've explained, I'm restating the facts actually, and that is the toll is a small factor in the total basket of CPI. It's just 1% or so. I didn't say whether it's reasonable or not reasonable. I was just stating the facts. As for the government acting as the gatekeeper, as in the past, you can see that we would scrutinize the data very seriously. And if we would also consider what they would do if we approve or reject the application, there were past cases of arbitration. And the arbitrator might say that the rate of increase should be higher than that applied for. So if we do not have a sound basis to reject the application, it may backfire. So we have to consider the operating environment, the financial position of the company, the inflation in the wider community, and so on. So we are going to do our job as a gatekeeper. It's not that we always agree with applications submitted by tunnel companies. Undersecretary, you are actually repeating yourself. I hope the administration would consider all the views expressed in assessing the application for the toll increase. Members, draw a line here. I would like to thank representatives from the TCTC for their attendance. We move on to the next item, fare increase application from the KMB Company Limited. All right, this time I will ask members who would like to speak to raise their hands. Let's do this now. There are two more items. Steady. The crowd would like to jot down your names. Let's have the KMB representative joining us.
出席呢個議程嘅官員呢，有邱成武副局長之外呢。
So apart from Mr. Yao Singmo, Undersecretary for Transport and Housing, we have Ms. Andy Chan, Deputy Secretary for Transport and Housing, as well as Ms. Carrie Chang, PAS for Transport and Housing. Mr. Josia Tao, PAS. Mr. Ken Hui, Assistant Commissioner from Transport Department. Ms. Rachel Kwan, Principal Transport Officer. From KMB, we have Ms. Eman Ho, Managing Director. Mr. Evan Aoyang, Deputy Managing Director, and Ms. Vivian Chan, Corporate Affairs Director. So over to the KMB for a simple introduction. Your paper has been sent to members, so you may wish to be more succinct in your introduction. Mr. Ho? Yes, I'll be quick. The KMB is facing a number of challenges. For example, cost items, including fuel and wages, are on the rise. But our cost structure is not flexible. Many cost items are not within the control of my company. As for ridership, the number of passengers, since it peaked in 2002, when we had 3.1 million passengers per day, and over the 10 years, it has dropped to about 2.6 million on a daily basis. That's a drop of 18% because of the extension of railways. We have lost some 500,000 of passengers, but our fleet is only reduced to the extent of 11%, and therefore utilization rate of our fleet has dropped. Some 70% of our routes are now loss-making routes. Past routes rationalization efforts have been less than satisfactory. This chart shows you the situation in the first half of 2012. Wages for our 12,000 staff members accounts for 1.4 billion, or 47% of the total. Fuel costs 705 million, or 23% of the total. These two items alone account for 70% of the total costs. We have to operate in accordance with the timetable and frequency dictated by the Transport Department, and we cannot cut the level of service. And fuel and manpower costs cannot really be adjusted by my company. And we also spent 350 on depreciation of our fleet, and also $173 million on tunnel tolls. Vehicle parts and repair accounts for $143 million for the half year in question. So wear and tear is an important factor and costly as well. And we have to maintain and clean and repair the bus stops and upgrade the facilities. Our plant also requires repair. We have to pay electricity tariffs, insurance premium, and so on. They account for 7% of the total of cost. So there's not much room for which for us to maneuver. And costs have been on the rise since 2011. Low sulfur diesel price has gone up by 35%, wage increase 9%, and toll on average have gone up by 5%. Inflation 8%. And the number of passenger ridership in 2002, 3.1 million per day. And then the Chang'an-No extension, West Rail, Mount Ansan Rail were commissioned. Over the years, the number of passengers has dropped by 500,000 a day. So many bus routes are really outdated and should be reorganized. There's a serious problem with overlapping with empty out, and even among bus routes there are some overlapping with each other, and there is also overlapping with minibus routes. As a result, the time taken for a trip has gone up, and sometimes the route would involve a detour, aggravating the problem. This is a table comparing the 2005 to 2010 average mileage or average speed has gone down on the roads. For example, the Longchang Road by 40%. So the bus trip takes a longer time over these years. The increase in traveling time has gone up by an average of 16%, and in some cases by 50%. If we have to increase or if we have to maintain the same frequency, we have to increase the number of buses and drivers substantially. And we did not apply for an increase every year. Last time it was submitted in July 2010, and it took effect in May 2011. So on average, we would have an increase once every 2 years. This time, the rate of fare increase is comparable to the total inflation. Another bus company, Longwind, is also managed by my group, but the road network is better. It has been less severely impacted by the extension of railway. So Longwind has not submitted an application for fare increase. We would like to get an increase in fares by 8.5%, hoping that in 2013 we can break even. This year, in the first half, we have a profit of 15 million. In the lower half of second half of the year, we have to increase wages, and the profit would go down. We have been trying many measures to save. For example, we save electricity by using more efficient installations and equipment, and we have tried to enhance the operational efficiency of our bus fleet, and we have also tried to extend or increase our revenue through advertisement. As for advertisement, in 2010 and 2011, we got more than $100 million a year. That was incorporated into the franchise agreement accounts.
480萬嘅。
And for the first half of 2012, we had 54.8 million revenue from advertisement, which is 13% increase compared to the same period of 2010. Many people are concerned about our advertisement revenue. In the process of identifying advertisement agencies, we've gone through tendering, and our objective is to allow the Kowloon Bus Company to have a maximized revenue. We have examined all the tender details, and we would select the agency that provides the best offer. Roadshow has Bus Body, Bus Shelter, and Bus TV franchise after the tendering service. We have already talked about the revenue of 100 million in 2011 and 2012. They have gone to our dedicated accounts. In terms of safety, in August this year, we have obtained the certification of OSHA 18001. We have comprehensively enhanced the safety level of our systems. In terms of environmental protection, in previous years we faced very strong financial pressure, but we still liaised with the supplier of electronic buses, and we have looked into hybrid buses and e-buses. We've done some trial runs in Hong Kong. The government has allocated funding for us to purchase e-buses or electronic buses. So by the end of 2013, there should be 10 buses that are electric buses, and they will be tested on ground. In the coming 5 years, our expenses on purchasing new buses, we're talking about 1,800 such buses. Every one is close to 3 million. The total expenditure will be more than 5 billion. So we are going to invest more than 1 billion per year in the coming 5 years. We have already placed order to purchase 400 buses. They will be delivered next year. As for other technologies, the Tuen Mun transfer station to be opened this year, later this year, we are going to have real-time reporting covering 200 buses with a new GPS system so that we can provide real-time report. So people waiting at the transfer station can have better time management, and the facilities at these transfer stations have been enhanced. By the end of this month, we hope that people can enjoy the benefits. New technologies also, I think only 1 to 2 slides left. In terms of our staff, they also enjoy better facilities. In the Kowloon Bus network, we want to reorganize. Just be brief, please. Thank you. Hopefully, without changing the number of buses, we want to reorganize our routes with the districts and open new routes, improve efficiency, and also transfer station. I've already talked about that to bring convenience to the public. This is the final page. This is the conclusion. KMB, I think let's skip the conclusion. We have already heard the content. Thank you. Because of time constraints, There are 10 people waiting to ask questions. I will read out their names. 陳家彪、黃國興、葛珮帆、李卓人、范國威、潘兆平、陳偉業、KK 郭、陳克勤、鍾國斌。Okay? Anyone else? 盧偉國、胡志偉。Anyone else? I'll draw the line here, okay? Because of time constraints. 3 minutes each. Be concise. Don't ask repetitive questions. Thank you, Chairman. Total passenger count. I am sympathetic. If we look at your annual report, I wonder what is happening to the accounts. Tuen Mun Assembly Facility with 9,000 meters square in 2010 that disappeared. It was rented out to become an industrial facility. Where has the rental gone? Not into your account. Where has the rental gone? This is outrageous. Is it because of poor operation, or is the MTRC stealing your customers? We'll be sympathetic, but you are hiding your assets and resources. LegCo members are not happy with that. I urge the Transport Bureau to disclose how much land and resources that belong to the Hong Kong people has been transferred by KMB to the mother organization or group. Another sum, Kwun Tong How Ming Street. Back in 2010, there was this transaction, 480 million sold to the subsidiary. Where has the money gone? If you're selling property, what happens to the revenue? Originally, it is a depot in Kwun Tong. Has the Bureau looked into that? Today, I don't think we should talk about how the oil price has affected you. We should look into these disappearing money instead. I have prepared a motion. According to the paper back in 2009, there was this undertaking that the fare level would be subject to review in 3 years, and that is now. It's been 3 years. Can we do a review? Can we consider the land and resources? More than 10 depots. The hidden revenue, shouldn't that go back to the accounts of KMB? And also revenue for the media segment. Thank you, Chairman. I will respond to this part. Please be concise. I would like to explain. Just now you talked about 2 pieces of land, perhaps other property belonging to KMB. They belong to the company. They are private land. In early years, they have purchased the land from the market with real money. So in our consideration, such land would not be counted against the franchise. I don't think we are convinced. Please wait for them to respond first. Because of time constraints, let's be concise. So the land did not belong to Hong Kong people. They purchased them from the open market. If the government wants to specify the land use, we have to respect the principles of private property ownership. The government may need to offer compensation if it wants to use the land. Members talked about the land. They never belong to the government. What about a review of the fare mechanism every 3 years? Yes, we do have a mechanism for review. But for the land, it never was a part of the franchise. If we want to bring it down under the franchise, it's a matter of principle. The government will have to make it compulsory or limit the bus company on the use of the land. Mr. Wong Kwok Heng. Chairman, concerning KMB asking for this huge increase of the fare level, I would like to express my strong objection. a motion is going to be presented in a minute, I will support the motion. This level of increase is way beyond inflation level by almost 2 times. Besides, it is totally unreasonable if the government allows this fare increase. Definitely. There will be a chain effect, increasing the burden for everyone in Hong Kong, adding oil to the fire of grievance. So this mechanism only allows upward adjustments but not downward adjustments. I question what is behind this arrangement. Perhaps the government and KMB have not clearly presented all the facts. According to Tongga Bill, 2 pieces of land. Mr. Yao said that they have purchased the land from the open market. My question for you is, what about Manhattan Hill, the development project under KMB? The land was given to KMB and they sold it at 5.5 billion, a very low level to their mother company, which then developed it into Manhattan Hill, including residential units and a shopping mall. The profit is huge. How come the government is not asking the KMB to present all the facts? The KMB has been very ambiguous. Their mother company has not told us anything. They are transferring benefits from one hand to another. And the KMB has sold this valuable piece of land to their mother company. They have been making profit out of the pockets of local people, and then they also want a fair increase. Is that fair? Mr. Yao? Chairman, when the government considers all fair increase applications, we consider a basket of factors. At the end, the CE in Council will decide these factors. Oh, let's not talk about that. I don't want them to respond. I just want to state clearly. I urge the administration to follow up on this. Manhattan Hill, there was no specification on the land use. There was no land premium offered. It was a very profitable piece of business handed over to KMB. And now they still want to ask for a fair increase. Mr. Ho, maybe I can talk about the Manhattan Hill project. The land, back in 1955, KMB purchased the piece of land in the open market, and you can go to the land registry to check the ownership. We purchased the land at market price back in 1955. It was not given to us by the government. All along, it's been used as a depot. Today, only KMB is providing its own land to support bus operations. If we look at the Lai Chi Kok facilities, since it's been used as a depot since 1955, the facilities have been outdated and no longer suitable for modern operation of longer buses at 12 meters, no longer 8 to 9 meters like before. So during reclamation of West Kowloon, there was a piece of land that was given to us to run the new depot. So under short-term tenancy lease, we rented the land from the government at market price to set up our new depot. So we relocated our facilities, and the old site was no longer in use. Back then, there was a lot of noise created and local residents were not happy. I'm talking about Mayfield residents. So the land was no longer in use on Lai Chi Kok Road. So that is very clear. As for the selling of the land later on, the losses or profits according to the franchise is spelled out clearly that it should not go into the bus operating accounts under the franchise. That is the historical reason causing such misunderstanding.
The land was purchased many years ago. It was shown CDA, or Comprehensive Development Area. So we can build anything there. No premium is payable. So maybe that's why people have some misunderstanding. So you have got a big benefit, you still want to get more. Well, your time is up. Ms. Kwok. Well, every year the KMB wants to have a fare increase. I think the public and I would react in the same manner. How come you are doing this? Many people are annoyed and dismayed by this. The KMB's response has been most disappointing. Now they want to an average toll increase of 8.5%. That would add to the heavy burden faced by many people. How can you do this? How can we accept this? And I just don't know why the administration can allow this. You must give an account to the public. In one regard, the KMB is operating well. They know how to run their business. They have devolved the operation of a road show, and now it's not a part of the franchise accounts. So before you consider whether you approve the fare increase, please ask the KMB to increase its transparency of accounting. Let's have all the data so that we can tell whether they have got good reasons to increase fare. KMB keeps saying that district councils reject route rationalization plans. Actually, the district councils have got good ideas for you to increase revenue. So you cannot operate more lucrative routes, and yet the loss-making routes cannot be cancelled. It's a problem with the government. The government has a responsibility. They can't just come and ask for fare increase all the time. The proposed increase is unreasonable, very unreasonable. The administration or the KMB should clarify the accounts, reorganize the routes before you ask for a fare increase. Otherwise, we are bound to object to your proposed increase. Undersecretary, in vetting the fare application, well, in relation to fare increase, the bus company can submit an application anytime they like, but it doesn't mean that we'll always agree. But we cannot say that you cannot even submit an application. So in answering Ms. Kwok's question, I'll say that once we receive the application, we would look at our criteria, very stringent criteria in assessing their accounts. We'll ask them to account if we have doubts or if there are ambiguities. We'll ask them to clarify. The final gatekeeper is in the form of the Executive Council's final decision. We'll have to consult members here, and also we'll consult the TAC. We would look at the application from various perspectives, and that has always been the system in handling an application for a fare increase. Well, I think Ms. Kwok wants more or higher transparency with regard to accounting, land use, advertisement revenue, and so on. So I hope KMB can give the public and members more information so as to avoid misunderstanding. Mr. Lee Chuk-yan. Labor Department objects to the fare increase submitted by the bus company. They're just trying to slip it past in the midst of chaos. And they just ask for a high rate of increase in the hope that we will agree to a lower one. This is higher than the one determined by the fare adjustment mechanism. It's just 4.3% according to FAM. And you want to add on top 5 more percentage points. Is that the new strategy that you have been adopting lately? And you're also trying to cheat us or mislead us through the financial tricks. Well, roadshow earns a high revenue through bus operations, but now you have hived off roadshow. Or in the 11 years concerned, they have earned $500 million. So you are using financial tricks to conceal the profit. The Lai Chi Kok Depot was turned into Manhattan Hill, and you earned $5 billion. You said it was private land, but the government gave approval for you to operate a bus depot there, and now it's been turned into a private residential development. It was a profit earned on the basis of there being a depot as approved by the government. So you are using financial tricks to earn a big profit, and you try to hide it from your accounts, and then you claim to have to make a loss and ask for a fair increase. We're also not happy about the lost trips. Instead of 8.33%, nearer the time of a fair increase, the lost trips rate has gone down. Maybe you use those so-called ghost buses to cut down the lost trips rate through tricks. Under Secretary, we are not confident that the Executive Council can do a good job in acting as the gatekeeper. It seems that you just allow them to attack the goal when you are the goalkeeper, and then you claim that there's a mistake and they score a goal. You have not monitored the depot development in terms of the Manhattan Hill project. You failed to monitor the hiving off of roadshow, and you also failed in relation to lost trips. So how can we be confident on your role as the gatekeeper under Secretary? Let me explain again. Mr. Lee has referred to Manhattan Hill. As I've said, that was a piece of private land. Let me say something about the background. In 1997, a paper was submitted to the then Legislative Council setting out very clearly how the site would be handled. Well, the information is already there, out there. You can check. Well, time is short. I would like to ask the next member to speak, Mr. Gary Fan. Well, to save time, I don't need any reply from the Undersecretary or KMB. I think the financial information provided by the KMB is insufficient, and the justifications are not sound. Since 1997, the KMB has reorganized its structure. Everything happened after the SAR government was set up. So depots were turned into property projects, and advertisement business was hived off. And now only those loss-making operations remain with the KMB, and you want to get more from the riding public. So the KMB earns the profit, and you ask the passengers or the public to shoulder the responsibility of paying for the losses. Mr. Lee Cheuk-yan and Mr. Wong Kwok-hing have referred to the property development. I want to talk about roadshow. Roadshow's cumulative profit is $600 million. And the first half of this year alone is $15 million. And KMB made a loss of $15 million in loss. So if the roadshow revenue or profit is plowed back to KMB, there will be no loss for the KMB. Again, Long Win, which is under the same group, in the first half of the year, coincidentally earned a profit of $15 million. We have been told that there are two franchises, KMB and Long Win. Well, actually, City Bus also owns two franchises, one for urban, another is transport between Tung Chung and New Airport. But they are all under the NW Holdings. But KMB Group is different. So if it's a total segregation, I won't say anything about it. But if you look at the initial stage of Long Win, KMB provided support to Long Win routes by deploying its drivers. Let's look at New Bus, City Bus, KMB in a horizontal manner, and the average revenue per bus for KMB is 27,000. But City Bus 42,000, New Bus 77 million. Don't remember that they have a smaller number of buses compared with KMB. So how can we account for this? You now ask for 8.5% fare increase. It's unreasonable. And KMB has been very skillfully in shifting the blame on district council, saying that they are standing in the way of route rationalization. Last year, the plan to reduce 156 buses was approved, and there was only a slight increase of 2% in revenue, and that's why you want to apply to the government and to the EXCO for 8.5% increase. And then next March, the pressure will be on the 18 district councils with regard to the rationalization plans. All these are unreasonable. I hope the administration would note all the views expressed. Mr. Poon Siu Ping, the 8.5% increase is unreasonable. It's going to increase the burden of the grassroots. It's been said that your passengers have been lost to other operators. I have questions for the administration and KMB. So in theory, KMB should try to attract more passengers, but because of the lost trips, it's not going to be easy for you. Are you going to introduce monthly tickets? Because you have long-term passengers. By offering concessions, you can keep these passengers. Second, concerning the basket of factors, this is for the administration. Some members have already accepted that this is problematic. Is that going to be changed? Do you have a timetable for any change? Mr. Ho, any concessions? Can you say something about concessions? With regard to rationalization of routes to enhance efficiency. Well, if that's done, then we will have resources to consider providing concessions or rebates. Given the current financial position, we are making a loss. If we provide concessions, we will be lacking resources to improve our services. However, we are going to adopt an open mind in considering various options. We hope if or when a rationalization plan can be implemented, and when we can have more room to maneuver financially, we will be able to do this. At present, we are in the red.
Mr. Yao, Chairman, allow me to explain. We're all concerned about the situation surrounding roadshow. Are there problems with the accounts? I would like to explain that the bus company has its strength in operating the buses. Advertisement is just one segment of revenue. Most public transportation companies would make use of advertisement agencies to make arrangements by profit sharing, to make commercial arrangements to promote their advertisement business. This is very common. So different operators of public transportation have different client groups, and it's difficult to compare the customers directly. As long as the company obtains the contract through open tender, which is fair and just, and all the advertisement revenue should be included as the franchise income. That is the focus. 6 more members are waiting to speak. Because of time constraints, please be concise. I believe at 12:45 I will extend the meeting by 15 minutes because 2 members have moved motions. And there is another item concerning upgrading lighting systems for Tuen Mun Tunnel. So Albert Chan, KK Kwok, Chan Hak Kun, 鍾國斌、衛國、胡志偉 and Tim Buxton, 梁國雄, Chen Wai-yip. I want to strongly condemn KMB and the government. This is simply outrageous. Property items, they're claiming that this is private operation and the profit is unrelated to KMB. If you look at MTRC, for a public utility company, its operation should be based on actual needs, and KMB is playing financial tricks to take out some profits, and then operation would only include the losing part of their business. This is legal, but it is unethical. This is collusion and transfer of benefits, and the government is giving the green light. Back then, the land was purchased from the government at 3 million, and that was 1959. And you've been operating this business for decades. Back then, there was disagreement on profit level, and because of this agreement, KMB was able to retain the land and continue its operation. There is historical background. You can say this is private. You cannot say that because it was purchased back in 1959 as a private piece of land, because of the special operation of KMB, you are now turning over the profit to your mother company. And for the losing part, you ask the public to shoulder the responsibility. I strongly oppose to this application. Secondly, if you look at MTRC's operation, their property revenue will still be counted under the MTRC's accounts. Why should we give special arrangement for KMB? And then about roadshow, your financial arrangements are unacceptable. I also want to strongly condemn the fact that the secretary is not here today. The secretary should come because this is about people's livelihood and he doesn't care. He's a new secretary, he should be more hardworking and attend this meeting and listen to our views. So, Professor Zheng, I strongly condemn you. Mr. Ho, let's ask the government to respond first. How come KMB can play such magical tricks? Mr. Yao, well, there are 2 concepts that I need to explain. First of all, you said that in 1955, the land in Lai Chi Kok, KMB purchased the land from the open market at a price. It was not allocated by the government, but they maintained the land because of bus operations. They would not have the 5 billion profit if it had been sold many years ago. Secondly, Chairman, I need to clarify that KMB is different from the MTRC. The land allocated to MTRC so that they can make financially viable operations of the MTR system. That is the agreement between the government and the MTRC, and it's totally different from the KMB's case. KK Kwok, KMB is a very good story representing the hegemony in the property sector. And there is guaranteed profit because of the operation of the buses and also the land. The government has been very lenient in allowing KMB to play some financial tricks so that they can move their assets around. Their investment company made 4 billion from Manhattan Hill, and then in Lai Chi Kok Poland Street, another property project. Well, excluding Tuen Mun project, all these projects have brought in huge profits. Sun Hung Kai through KMB. It shows that they have made huge profits in 1995 when the relevant ordinance was amended. The profit agreement was a failure. For any franchise to be granted, all the revenues should be calculated as under the franchise. If we look at Sun Hung Kai, they have made profits of 4.8 billion and 10.3 billion in previous years. The total number is more than 100 billion already. And they are taking out the rest of their business and saying that they are suffering from losses. They are not making a profit, and therefore they are very poor. I think that is shameless. I'm just quoting a respected person, Lam and Chi. This is a very wealthy property developer, and the government is allowing it to do so. I want to ask Mr. Yao, when the agreement was signed back then, isn't it the mistake committed by the government? If it is the case, shouldn't you openly apologize to the public? I don't think you were the person who signed the agreement. But when the government considers a franchise, we have to consider the land owned by the bus company and whether we should calculate the land under the franchise. The land development, the bus company can freely make investments or choose not to make investments of a certain type. If you want to restrict them in any way, you need to offer compensations. For example, there should be upward fare adjustment arrangements to reflect the possible profit from the land. At the time, the government did not feel that we should offer any profit guarantee. We did not agree that there should be such an arrangement. So the land segment, their own land, were not calculated under the franchise. So that is very important. If the land is also calculated, the bus operation franchise may be affected in terms of stability and reliability of bus services because of the profits and losses from the land property. If they have their own assets which are related to bus operations such as advertisement revenue, those should be calculated. So your time is up, Mr. Chen Hakan. Thank you, Chairman. KMB is saying that fare adjustment of 8.5% is because they are losing money. That is deceiving the public. You are playing tricks because you have made 600 million from roadshow and that has been taken out. If we calculate 600 million, there's no loss. It's a huge profit. There's no pressure on fare adjustment at all. Right now, the government is calculating this fare adjustment mechanism while excluding every profit-making segment. It's the same for MTRC, it's the same for KMB. So at the end, they have the justification to increase the fare level. Is it fair to the public? You are making 600 million as a profit. How can you possibly increase the fare? KMB saying that the number of passengers has been dropping because of competition from MTRC and minibuses. If you look at their lost trip rate, is 8%, especially in Kowloon City, 11% in Northern Region, more than 7%. How can you possibly tell us that you want to increase the fare with such poor performance? How can you say that because of competition you're losing money? You need to reflect on this. 2 questions. Mr. Yao, allow me to explain the lost trip rate. The TD has been closely monitoring the services provided by KMB. I think we should leave that issue to KMB. Can you just focus on the fare level? I just want to explain that the government does monitor the lost trip rate. We have asked them to make improvements, and we have indeed seen improvements. According to our statistics, by October this year, the lost trip rate has come down to 3.7%. Mr. Ho, concerning lost trip rate, is caused by many different reasons: traffic congestion, rerouting, and also manpower issues. We cannot control all of these factors, but in the past half year or so, we have greatly improved the situation. We actively hired more people. We have been seeking help from government departments to resolve bottlenecks, so that the situation has been greatly improved. In recent months, the lost trip rate has been lowered to around 3% only. Hopefully, we can continue to make better arrangements and achieve greater improvements. Is the government too afraid to tell us the adjustment formula? Why are you singling out the profit-making segments? Well, we don't have such arrangements. That is not our practice. In the franchise agreement, we clearly spell out what is calculated as franchise accounts and what are not. If we're talking about their own land, they will not be calculated. But for advertisement, all the advertisement revenue will be calculated under the franchise. Chairman, this formula used as a reference for fare adjustment, it is 0.5 times the change in the wage index plus 0.5 times change in CCPI minus 0.5 times productivity gain. I believe this is to encourage KMB to enhance productivity, and then the benefits can be shared by the consumers. But CE in Council, according to our records, in October 8th, 2009, the value of productivity gain was actually 0. I don't know why it's been set as 0. That means that the encouraging factor has been eliminated. It's not good for the consumers or KMB itself. So I would like to understand why, and whether we need to do the review right away.
Second question. I agree that there must be rationalization of routes. I know it's difficult because of local reaction. If some routes cannot be rearranged, can you do something about productivity? Use different types of buses? For routes which you think there should be rationalization, but you cannot do it. Maybe some improvement can be made to these routes through productivity gain. Concerning the formula, it's a reference for the government in deciding whether fares should be adjusted. We have a time for the next review. It's about time, actually. Let me talk about productivity gain and why it's set as 0. In 2009, the CN Council reviewed the fare adjustment mechanism. It took into consideration that fuel cost was on the rise, and also the competition with MTR, setting the productivity gain as 0 provided a safeguard, because if it's a negative number, there will be a greater pressure on fare increase. Setting it as 0 prevented a deterioration of the situation. Mr. Chung, I see that 70% of the bus routes are making a loss. As a businessman, normally speaking, you are not going to do a non-profitable business. And now they are more or less break-even or sustaining a loss of $10 million. Why is it that the bus company can accept that 70% of its routes are making a loss? Why can't you go for rationalization? If you can break even by just having 30% of a routes profit-making, then perhaps you can do away with a fare increase just by rationalization. We see a lot of buses on the road. Congestion is caused by too many buses, and air quality is poor, partly because there are so many buses. So rationalization can allow you to earn more, and you don't have to increase the fare. Congestion in Hong Kong can also be improved. Mr. Ho, all along, we have been trying to rationalize our routes so that we can redeploy our resources to routes which can better serve the passengers. So that's the crux of the matter. That is how this is to be done. Well, not that 70% of the routes are loss-making. Actually, the reverse is correct. It's 70% of the routes are profitable, 30% loss-making. But because of the extension of railway over the years and changes in road conditions, we are losing passengers, and other cost items are becoming more and more expensive, such as fuel and wages. Regarding rationalization of routes, we hope we can consult the stakeholders in the first quarter, and our operating environment can be improved. It's going to be beneficial in reducing congestion and protecting the environment. Well, Undersecretary, there are routes which are needed by the public, although the bus company may think that those routes are not profit-making. So as part of the franchise agreement, they have to run those routes. Mr. Wu Chi-wai, concerning revenue through roadshow, according to the Undersecretary, advertisement revenue is fully accounted in the franchise accounts. But according to the KMB, they are just collecting a kind of rental through roadshow. So the revenue generated by roadshow, is it accounted for in the KMB's accounts? Because what you said doesn't tally with what they said. You are saying that advertisement should be part of the accounts. Rationalization of routes is a big issue, but it's done annually through the bus route development plan each March. And you're only talking about a few routes. Is it that only district councils are standing in your way? Are there other factors? And can the government achieve a breakthrough through other means? Some 70% of the routes are making a loss. as the Undersecretary has put it, some routes are needed always. What about the others? Can you achieve some breakthrough through negotiation in the coming years? And can you ask for a fair decrease, use it as a sort of bargaining chip, and that is if the district councils concerned agree to rationalization, the fare can be adjusted downwards. I'll talk about rationalization of routes first. There are two parts. Every year, in relation to bus routes, there's so-called the development plan, where we can talk about addition and deletion and reorganization of bus routes. This is an annual exercise, but there's also a bigger exercise when there are important infrastructure projects, for example, railways being commissioned. Then we need to embark on a major scale or a bigger scale of bus routes rationalization. So we would assess the demand in the coming year, and then we can take forth rationalization plans. And the bus company may also offer more transfer services. Do you have an objective or target? In 2014-15, we are going to have the commissioning of the South Island Line and the West Island Line. So we are going to do more in relation to rationalization. Are there other people objecting to rationalization apart from district councils? Maybe there are people expressing their views to the transport department as well. Well, please liaise properly with the bus companies. Can we expect some written replies? Well, next we have Mr. Michael Tin. Many people here are talking about the lack of justification for KMP's fare increase. I don't need to add more to that. I disagree with Mr. Lee Chang in some aspects. I have confidence in the EXCO. So, they wanted 8.6. It's just 6 something, 6.6, and now they want 8.5. I believe that the EXCO would cut it to 3. Otherwise, I'll be disappointed. And please don't disappoint me. On surface, in NT West, this is a serious problem. In 1 year, the number of complaints has gone up by 20%. Half of them about the frequency of service. You said last year it was 8%, this year is 3.22%. Let me give you some figures. 41A for Kwai Chung, from Tsim Sha Tsui East to Cheong On Estate. We took our measurement at the Kimberley Road. It should be 7 to 15 minutes in terms of headway. We measure that. It's 4:24, 42, 22 minutes, 20 minutes on the 19th. I don't want to read on. So we took measurements on for 7 days at Kimberley Road. The best one is outside 20 minutes, and the pledge is 7 to 15 minutes in frequency. So there's a big gap there. So I have some simple questions. Transport Department, when you conduct investigations, do you rely on the time of departure or the waiting time of passengers at the bus stops? Or if you count the departure time, please don't tell us, because it will be an insult to our wisdom. It's totally out of touch with passengers' reality. Next time, please take your measurement in the middle stations, or middle stops, not at the terminus. Second, You only conduct investigation when you receive a complaint. Of course, they would be smart enough to make adjustments to make the statistic better. You must conduct unannounced checks. You should take measurement along the stops, and then you announce the statistics. You don't just do this for routes under complaint. Then we are going to get the real lost trips rate. Can you respond to the Cheng Yi case? Please give a concise answer. Mr. Tin, when we receive a complaint about lost trips, we send people to count how many buses depart, and also we compare this with the schedule. You do this at the departure point, correct? I said, so don't present us these figures, because the departure time has nothing to do with passengers' waiting time. Can you do this in the bus stops along the way? Well, but there are other factors at play. There might be congestion, traffic jam. Well, to the passenger, I wait for an hour, but then you'll be fooling me if you say the frequency is 7 minutes. That cannot be accepted. Well, I'm not saying it's accepted. Perhaps you can review this. There's a need to have a comprehensive review. You are cheating people now, Mr. Leung Kok-hong. Can we have a computer system to record or to tell you where the bus is or en route to your stop? You should know where the bus is. Otherwise, how can you advise whether or how long it will take for the next one to come? MTR. You attach a lot of importance to MTR. You give them land, and you allow property development. The money or the premium is paid to the government. We have a high concentration of population. I just can't see why railway operation profits cannot be plowed back to subsidize other modes of transport. Otherwise, well, no use crying KMB, because the government regards railway as the backbone. If you are not going to run the KMB, let the government do it. I don't understand how come transportation in Hong Kong has fallen to such a state of affairs. Now it's fragmented. So, Mr. Yao, as I've suggested, we should have a universal monthly pass. Well, there's no use to rationalize routes. If you give me an autobus with $1,000 in value, I can just jump on a bus and get on another one at another location. The problem must be tackled at source. Let's say, if you give out 1,000 autobus cars to people for free, you will certainly know how they do the interchange or transfers. Mr. Yao, Professor Anthony Cheung is not here to listen to us. Are you going to improve the system by doing away the monopoly enjoyed by MTR?
Mr. Yao, our thinking is to continue to use the railway as the backbone. Other means of transportation would play a supplementary role over connections. In Hong Kong, I think that is very welcome model by the public in this very congested city. Everybody is saying no to increase of fares. Your time is up, Leung Kok-hong. I have to I've told you that I would extend the meeting by 15 minutes. Let's deal with the motions. 2 members have submitted their motions. Let's put them to a vote. I'm not going to merge them. Let's save time. From Phan Kok Wai. Let's put Phan Kok Wai's motion to the vote. For those who agree, thank you. For those who object, no objection. Okay. Endorsed. And then motion by Mr. Tangabil. Let's put it to the vote. For those who support, please raise your hands. For those who object, no objection. Both carried. Let's hope that the administration and KMB have heard us loud and clear when you scrutinize the application. Please give it more thoughts. We appreciate all the valuable comments from members. We will submit all the members to TAC and EXCO for reference. We're concerned about the franchise. All the franchise conditions are gazetted and they are available online. We welcome members of the public to have a look. Thank you. And KMB submitted the PowerPoint. Please give us a copy as well. We will circulate them to members. That should be the usual practice. Give the information in advance. Next item. Yes, Mr. Wu? What about roadshow? You say yes, they will provide the information as well. Next item. Upgrading lighting system in Chuen Mun Tunnel and the monitoring system. Let's invite the administration in for Shing Mun tunnels. Who would like to ask questions? We have Mr. Chen Shi-king, Madam Lam Yok-ting, and Mr. So Yao-on, Mr. Zhang Ping-kun. Sorry for keeping you waiting for so long. Mr. Chen. Well, right now in Shing Mun Tunnel, they have the tunnel lighting system, which started operating back in the 90s. They are integrated systems to ensure safety, reliability of the operation of the tunnels. According to the MSD, both systems have come to the end of efficient use, and certain parts cannot be found. To maintain operation of the systems is getting more and more difficult. So before the end of the life cycle, we have to prepare for the replacement so that they will continue to be operated efficiently and reliably. If there are any malfunction, the Shing Mun Tunnel will have to stop operation so that there will be congestions in nearby routes, causing a knock-on effect on other major roads in the NT. We expect to spend $131.97 million on this project, and there will be no other recurrent expenses. After consulting this panel, in January next year, we will apply for funding from Finance Committee. With FC's approval, we will start the project in February. It was going to take 44 months to complete. Timely replacement of the systems will ensure reliable and safe operation of the tunnels. That is very important. We hope to get your support. Thank you, and we now take questions. Mr. Wong Kwok Heng 4 minutes, okay? Yes, I support this. And the replacement is necessary. I want to ask the administration, in other countries, we have seen some cases where the ceiling has collapsed in some tunnels, causing huge casualties. That country immediately examined and inspected all the ceilings of the tunnels to ensure safety. Because of these overseas incidents, I would like to ask the administration, have you examined the safety level of ceilings of all local tunnels? Are they inspected on a regular basis? If there's serious fire in the tunnels, which has happened before, what will happen to the safety facilities, and is there any warning systems? Mr. Wong Kwok-heng, that is not related to this agenda item. They are all tunnel facilities. It's related. I wonder if you're prepared to answer that question. Perhaps we can provide a response. Perhaps we can give a brief response. We attach great importance to safety of tunnels. Actually, for every tunnel, there is a regular inspection to make sure that they can be operated safely. Whether we have any dedicated efforts to the ceilings, I think every component of the tunnel will be carefully examined. I will ask Mr. So from the TD to respond. Thank you, Mr. Wong. Actually, we have contracted out some of the maintenance work in our tunnels at night. That would be special traffic arrangements, because during the non-peak hours, we can close down one tube of the tunnel to do cleaning, maintenance, and inspection. Mr. Wong proposed that the ceilings should be inspected. Actually, the tunnel operators will pay close attention to any structural safety. During visual inspection, they will try to identify any problems, and the Transport Department or Highways Department staff will also ensure structural safety of the tunnels. In any major incidents such as a fire, do we have any advanced warning systems or drilling exercise? For different tunnels, we have fire drills from time to time, or emergency drills. We have a number of steps to be followed by the contractors and the various government departments so that we can respond very swiftly. So please rest assured. Mr. Wong, thank you for that very active response. I hope that you will continue to pay attention to this. Mr. Wai Kwok, Chairman, the new facilities will enjoy higher efficiency. I think green lighting is well supported by the public. I have a question. In your plan, what type of lighting are you going to use? Are you going to choose LED? A simple question. I will ask my colleague from EMSD to respond. Thank you for the question. Concerning the replacement exercise, we're going to use high efficiency T5 tubes. Compared to existing facility, there will be an additional 20% of energy saving or energy efficiency. We have also considered LED. The energy efficiency may be higher, but for the time being, we feel that cost-effective or the cost is higher. Compared to T5, we're talking about a cost that is 3 to 4 times higher. We have to think about cost effectiveness. we will actively consider different options, but for the time being, we do not see strong justification to use LED. Mr. Low? Mr. Wu? Well, after this replacement, what about the cost or energy saving level for the Shingwen Tunnel? When we switch over to T5 to replace the existing T8 system, we predict that the energy consumption can go down by 20% compared to the current level. What about LED? Can you achieve further saving? There will be further saving, but the initial investment is much higher. So if we calculate cost effectiveness, we will use T5. It's still early. You have to do design and tendering. Perhaps by then LED tubes will be cheaper and there will be more saving. Perhaps you can consider those. Okay, without other questions, that's the end of this item. The government has already prepared that in January next year they're going to bring this to FC to apply for funding. We will inform the FC that we support this proposal. Thank you, Mr. Chen and your team, for your attendance. Next meeting, 18th of January, meeting adjourned.